Texas death row inmate Melissa Lucio was scheduled to be executed this Wednesday evening. She was convicted in 2008 for causing the death of her 2-year-old daughter, but for the past 15 years, she has maintained her innocence. On Monday this week, she received the following phone call from a Texas state lawmaker who has been advocating on her behalf.
Hello?
Melissa.
Yes.
Hey, this is Jeff Leach.
Yes, sir.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good. Have you heard the news?
No, what?
You haven't heard the news yet?
No, what happened?
The Court of Criminal Appeals issued a stay of your execution for Wednesday.
Are you serious? Are you serious? When did this happen?
We just got word about 15 minutes ago.
Oh my God! That is wonderful! Oh my God! What does that mean?
well, it means you're going to wake up on Thursday morning.
Oh my goodness!
And
Oh, thank you, God.
Wow, what an incredible emotional moment. As you heard on that call, the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals issued a stay of Lucio's execution because her case, it's being sent back to a trial court. Lucio's case gained national attention in recent months after the circumstances leading to her conviction became more apparent and supporters championed her innocence. Some high-profile names fought to stop the execution, including reality star Kim Kardashian and dozens of lawmakers. One of those lawmakers included Texas Republican State Representative Jeff Leach, who you just heard break the news to her that she had been granted a stay in her execution. This result is particularly remarkable because Texas leads the nation in the number of executions carried out since 1976. That's the year the Supreme Court effectively restored the death penalty. Since then, 574 executions have been performed in Texas alone. 199 people are currently on death row in Texas, and 6 of them are women. Lucio would have been the first Latina executed by the state and the first woman since 2014. In a moment when Republican-led states like Texas are flashpoints for so many culture war fights, whether it's Texas's laws effectively banning abortion through a vigilante loophole, or Texas Governor Greg Abbott's call to investigate parents for child abuse for the use of gender-affirming care for their transgender children, is there hope that there could be a bipartisan push to reform capital punishment in the state with the highest number of executions in the country? Joining us now to discuss is Robert Dunham, the executive director of the Death Penalty Information Center. Robert, thanks for joining us. This case, Melissa Lucio, has triggered strong reactions from celebrities and garnered bipartisan support amongst lawmakers. Historically, though, how much has that kind of support changed the outcome for a person who's been sentenced to death?
Well, it's had an effect in a lot of cases, but it isn't a guarantee that your case is going to be reversed, that you're going to get a stay of execution. We've seen several cases very recently, Rodney Reed also in Texas, Julius Jones in Oklahoma, in which publicity and celebrity support and support of lawmakers made a difference and resulted either in a commutation or stay of execution. But there have been numerous cases where the fact that a case reached celebrity status didn't change the outcome and the prisoner was executed.
Yeah, so obviously then, Robert, it doesn't really bode well one way or another, right, for an inmate on death row whose case does or does not become a cause célèbre, right?
That's right. And you only have to think back at cases in Georgia and Florida where prisoners who had very strong evidence of innocence were executed anyway, despite public outrage. So I think that this is a critical step for Melissa Lucio. She, as Representative Leach says, gets to wake up and is still alive to raise her challenges. But there's still a long way to go in this case.
So, Robert, why do you think an issue like death row is unifying politicians from both parties? You said Representative Leach, he's a Republican, and the parties are so divisive right now. Why do you think that perhaps we're seeing some bipartisan push concerning death row inmates?
Well, I think it's really interesting because the death penalty used to be a wedge issue. And in the 1990s, if you said that you supported the death penalty, that was political poison. That's not the case anymore. We've seen that governors who signed orders creating moratoria on executions, they've been reelected. We've seen that governors who have signed bills to abolish the death penalty, they've been reelected. And governors who have vetoed bills to abolish the death penalty, they've been reelected too. The polls are showing that the public is not going to vote against a candidate of their own party because they disagree with them on capital punishment. That's a huge change from what it used to be. And we've also seen that going across the country, more and more people who are conservatives, more and more people who are classic Republicans are expressing opposition to capital punishment. In Wyoming, the attempt to abolish the death penalty was led by conservative Republicans. The same was the case in Utah. Several years ago, the Nebraska legislature, which was predominantly Republican, voted to repeal the death penalty statute and overrode the governor's veto before the public voted to stop the repeal from taking place. But that has been an ongoing pattern. More and more people of Republican registration or identifying as conservatives now say that they oppose the death penalty.
Yeah, but Robert, despite that, news, we're now hearing talks of the firing squad, for example, in other states making a comeback as an alternative to the electric chair. Advocates say it cuts down on the number of botched executions and that's somehow more humane. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I have two sets of thoughts on that. First is I wouldn't characterize it as a comeback. I think that the state movement towards more primitive and visceral and violent methods of execution is a direct product of the declining support of capital punishment. As more and more states are using the death penalty less and less, a few outliers are appearing even more desperate in the manner in which they attempt to carry it out. And with the major American pharmaceutical companies essentially opting out of the death penalty, refusing to sell their drugs for use in executions, the states that are wanting to carry out executions are looking for alternatives. So that's the case in South Carolina, and they are looking to the electric chair and firing squad. In Arizona, the legislature authorizes lethal gas, and the state refurbished its gas chamber and has bought supplies so that in some instances it can carry out executions using hydrogen cyanide, the same gas that the Nazis used in the concentration camps. I don't think this is a resurgence of the death penalty. I think it's a smaller set of outliers who are engaging in more and more extreme conduct in order to carry out the death penalty.